Okay, but anyway, let's talk a bit about your project. Maybe you can quickly introduce yourself and maybe have like 2 or 3 sentences about your project, like for crypto newbies, because it's
For crypto newbies.
Yeah, like in short, like in really short.
Sure. Okay. Fringe Finance is a lending platform. So there are many lending platforms in the DeFi space, but Fringe Finance offers holders of small cap altcoins the ability to deploy their capital to take out loans while they're waiting for the upside of their coins.
Awesome.
That's one of the key things.
Yes. Okay, super. Nice. And now for crypto nerds, please. What is exactly the difference between your project and different lending projects? What is your big advantage and where are you heading? Because I think the community is quite strong when it comes to lending. There are so many projects and platforms. And for crypto nerds, it's almost impossible to name them all. And maybe you can help out and give a better outlook on the current situation on the market when it comes to lending.
Yes. So the differentiator with our product is we are a lending platform, and it's geared towards holders of small cap altcoins. While they're waiting for their price appreciation and the upside potential of their coins, they can deploy their coins onto our platform. We have some particular engineering in our platform that is particularly designed for small cap coins. Also, lenders can utilize our platform to lend out stable coins. And these can be institutional lenders who would otherwise be getting very low returns with their US dollar assets sitting at a bank earning low interest rates. So they can flip it to a stable coin, and particularly USDC in the first instance, and lend it out on our platform. So they're the key communities that we're talking about. Also, projects who have their treasury in their altcoin can deploy that treasury also, so that they can then exercise loans that they can then use to invest in their project or undertake any other operational activities and pay for operational activities with their project. So it's got quite a differentiator in the market to other lending platforms because we really focus on those small cap project coins out there.
Okay, awesome. And why is that? What is the big thing with these small cap altcoins? I know, but our readers might know.
Well, there's billions of dollars in these small cap altcoins, and the predominant DeFi platforms really center around and support or well support most of the big coins. But there is an exponentially smaller number of platforms that support these altcoins. So we're looking to fill some of that gap and really capitalize and mobilize the assets in that space.
Awesome. And how would you define your target audience? Who's your most common user?
Well, as I mentioned, there are a number of users. There are the retail users who will deploy their altcoins to take out loans. There's also institutional users who want to attain a better return on their US dollar assets rather than sticking them in a bank. And there's also projects who've undertaken their IDO and they've got lots of capital, and they want to retain their treasury and not flip it out to other coins. They don't want to have to sell that. So we offer quite an opportunity there. Not only can they exercise their assets by taking out loans, but it also effectively locks up those coins, takes them off the market. And so that's a benefit for everyone in each of these projects' communities. We think there are multiple layers of benefit for a number of actors here.
Awesome. You mentioned communities. I think communities are driving most of the crypto projects out there. How important is community for your project?
It is enormous for Fringe Finance, primarily because the community themselves, the retail community, are going to be key users of our platform. If we look at some other platforms, let's just take an Oracle platform, for example. There is quite a lot of interest and passion, if you like, with the retail investors on those Oracle tokens. However, they're never going to be users in and of themselves of the platform. So this is something that Fringe Finance has. We've got quite a strong community. And if you get onto our Telegram and get involved with those guys, they're just on that fine line of being crazy and totally passionate. And, they know their stuff as well. So they keep us to task. But it is a beautiful thing because that's really one of the powers of our platform, the community.
Awesome. Nice. Thank you so much. With all these metaverse things coming up, do you think there is a chance that this plays a role within your project? Is this because I'm at this point, I'm thinking a lot about how DeFi and metaverse are verging one day, because everything I think is going to be sucked up in the metaverse. so
yeah,
thinking about how could that look like?
Okay, on the face of it, it'll be really interesting to see how it unfolds and what we don't know yet and what will come to bear. But what I envisage is in the metaverse, there'll be projects that will manifest themselves in the metaverse, but those projects will have tokens, and those tokens will be assets that we will like to engage with as listing them on our platform, just like they will need. So people who hold ownership in those projects can then exercise the assets that they have to take out loans and do other things in the broader DeFi ecosystem.
Nice. Thank you so much. Can you tell me a bit more about your team and your core skills and maybe what makes you function so well as a team and how you overcome hurdles?
Yes. Okay. So our team is everywhere, and none of them take themselves. I've got to be careful what I say here because we take this very seriously.
Yeah.
But no one is serious. No one is without humor. I should say it's humor that allows us to get through what is, a really tough time, a tough project, and tough issues that we're battling with, or we're contending with, and it is with that humor and I think conscientiousness which allows us to persevere. And what we've been able to do is pull together a team of people who have got that conscientiousness, where everyone is willing to work hard. And we also trust each other that we're all going to hold each other back. And at the same time, we can have a really good laugh on the way through. Interestingly, very few of us have actually met each other face to face, but we will, after our forums and meetings and workshops, we'll stay on the line and we'll have an after party. And so we can talk about, everything, our families, where we live, where we want to move, which countries we want to escape to from what's happening in the world at the moment. So, yeah, it's quite interesting to forge these friendships and not just working relationships with people through what is, a challenging but enjoyable and rewarding set of activities through running this project.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you tell me a bit more about your personal journey in the crypto space? How did you fall in the rabbit hole?
Yes. My background is engineering. And so I did tech and I've always loved that. For a long time, it became apparent to me, and I worked on software engineering side and consulting and working for corporates and banks and government organizations. And it became apparent to me quite some time ago that the existing financial systems are rigged, and it's centralized, and let's just politely say it's rigged. And there were attempts that I took to begin to deal with that, such as being involved in commodities, gold and silver and metals and energy and so forth, looking at major trends, irrespective of what narrative was coming out of the news. And so that gave me a bit of an insight into how things operated on a global scale and a macro scale. And working in those spaces for quite a number of years, a dozen years or so, then Bitcoin came along. And one of my friends said to me in 2012, Brian, just go out and buy a few $1,000s worth of Bitcoin. And I was very disappointed because it took me a year before I took his advice. And so I realized what this technology really did because I like to peel back the covers. But I realized from a background of understanding that the existing financial systems were rigged, that this represented an opportunity. This decentralization, this uncensorability, this limited supply ushered in a way to transfer value. And of course, it's the first and the underlying component that is going to really manifest into a truly decentralized and distributed world that will represent a really good set of options for people that can opt into rather than people being forced into through the current centralized systems.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't have any more questions, but if there's something you want to tell me, I'm all ear.
Okay. Well, I'll talk a little bit about, I'll extend upon that last point that we were talking about, which was Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies represented this first layer of transfer of value, uncensorable, permissionless transfer of value. And what will happen from here is all quite interesting. Of course, we've seen DeFi establish itself, where people can now partake in financial services and it doesn't require permission and they can do it in a manner that is uncensorable and access a whole host of financial services that they otherwise would not been able to take advantage of. What I see occurring as a next step that I believe will be a game changer will be the evolution of mechanisms around pseudonymous identity and reputation, because this ushers in a new era where individuals and organizations, particularly DAOs, will now be able to undertake dispute resolution in a pseudonymous manner. And that dispute resolution will be based on maintaining their reputation, because their reputation will be the currency or a large part of the currency of their ability to interact on a continuing and evolving basis within the decentralized domain. Now, those decentralized pseudonymous dispute resolution systems are quite different to regular or traditional nation state court systems and legal systems, insofar as those nation states have ultimately the use of force to back up the veracity or to ensure the veracity of a verdict by a court. Now that force doesn't exist in the decentralized realm. So there, for any dispute resolution process to be effective, there needs to be some compulsion or veracity to it. And reputation is going to be the key driver for that. And so once these reputation systems begin to better establish themselves, particularly in a pseudonymous manner, people will be able to trustlessly, or more to the point, permissionless, without permission and without any connection to their real world identity, begin to be trusted in webs of trust with larger and larger units of value. So DAOs or organizations will be able to contract with one another, and they will be able to have mechanisms that will hear and adjudicate disputes that will have real implications or will have real force behind them. And that force won't be physical force, but it will be the reputation that they wish to retain. And so up until now, DAOs, the question has always been, how do DAOs interact with the nation state legal systems? And people are falling over themselves to attempt to establish that. And actors in their traditional legal fraternity are providing various levels of service and mechanisms to enable that. However, that's the wrong question to ask, because once we've got this new set of mechanisms in place, we will be able to, or the question will be, how do real world existing organizations now participate in this universal, decentralized, permissionless, pseudonymous dispute resolution and legal system that is outside the realm of any nation state? So this is where the real game changer is going to be in the coming years. And that's a project coming up through the ranks.
This is so awesome. Thank you so much. I loved it.
That's great, Alex. Thank you very much.